Ask for it.
3, 2, 1, 0.
Hey, you. Yeah, you. Come here for a minute. I want to talk to you. Mama says you're brain dead. Bang your head against the wall. Can't find peace of mind.
Brain needs an overhaul. Overhaul.
Bonehead, brain dead, we're all the same. You can't think straight when your heart is in pain.
Turn around, hit the ground. Time to lay your burden down, down,
The
down.
views expressed on this broadcast of the Take 12 Recovery Radio Show are those of the co-host and guest and do not necessarily reflect those of our affiliates. The topics and opinions on today's show should not be considered as medical, psychological, or professional advice.
No.
Take 12 Radio is not affiliated with any particular 12-step fellowship. And
Remember
now,
that.
here's your host,
Remember
The
that.
man, the myth, the legend.
the Monty'man.
I'm telling you the truth.
No, I ain't gonna lie to you. Lie, lie, lie. Lie, lie, lie.
Good guys, bad boys, we're all the same. Saved by grace.
Is the name of the game. Turn around, hit the ground. Time to lay your burden down. Lay it down, Tony. Lay it down. Put it right down there right now.
I'm putting it down now.
Lay your burden down. Welcome to the Take 12 Recovery Radio Show. Marv's here.
Yes, I am. Good to be here.
Tony's here.
Good morning, Neil.
Denver's here.
Howdy.
And Wes is in the peanut gallery. Hi, Wes.
Hi, Monty. I'm here.
Wes has got his headphones on. He's in the peanut gallery, acting like a peanut, right?
Children's table.
Wes brought in a really cool thing. Check this out. This is so cool. This is so cool.
Out.
All right, listen to this.
Good. That is like magic. That is like magic.
It's a thunder thing.
I want one. Where did you get that? Did you make that?
It was a thrift find.
A thrift? I need to go thrift finding.
It's really cool.
It is really cool.
It's like this tube thing painted like beadwork, which is really intricate, actually,
Like mosaic.
with a plastic
Rim.
Thing.
on the bottom, and then it's got a spring attached to
A
the
really
bottom.
long, tight spring.
Yeah,
A really long thing.
and you do that, and it makes that sound, which is the sound
And
of
it's hollow.
the sound of thunder. Yeah, that's really cool. So thank you, Wes. Another wonderful Teen Challenge thrift store find. There's amazing things at thrift stores. If you haven't shopped at a thrift store, you're really missing out because there's some amazing stuff.
It's amazing people that make crafts like that.
Right.
Like I said, I'm going, what is that? It's a tube with a piece of wire. Boom. And it sounds wonderful.
It does sound wonderful.
Kylie actually gets a lot of her clothes
Pull your mic closer to you there,
from
buddy.
thrift shops.
Does she really?
Oh, yeah, she's a penny pincher.
Yeah, penny
Not
pincher?
like her mom.
What? Penny pinchers?
Oh,
penny pinchers.
What are
At
we?
the age of 20
What
years
are
old,
we?
she's a penny pincher.
Ever pinch a penny, Marv? Literally pinch a penny?
Not on purpose.
Not on purpose?
Trying not to give
Not
it
for
away.
long. Not for long.
Well, this week we're going to have some fun. So it's the teen challenge. It's
Oh, boy.
It's it's the Take 12 Recovery Radio Ask It Basket this week. You asked for it, and so we're going to give it to you. We've got we opened it up through the week for people to ask some questions, and we had a number of them come in through email, and I went through and picked out the first few that came in. So I figured you guys that jumped on it real fast, we're going to go with yours. And so thank you very much. And we're going to read those and do our best to answer those questions. And, yeah, there you go. So I officiated a wedding yesterday. That was fun.
I saw that.
Yeah, and the gentlemen that were in the wedding, my son was best man. There's a little ring bearer. And then the groom wore kilts I did not wear a kilt.
What?
Hallelujah.
I was quite surprised
Aw.
you didn't wear one.
But I did wear my shorts. I did wear shorts.
All right.
Shorts at a wedding.
All right.
Yeah.
Short.
So that was fun. Yeah. So that was cool. And they had a cake. They had a wedding cake that was all white with a dragon on it, with its tail wrapped around the cake. That was really cool, too. And warm potato salad.
Oh, I love warm potato salad.
Nah, you're weird.
It's good.
With the
I'd rather have
dragon
it warm
cake.
than cold.
With the
With the
dragon,
dragon
cake.
cake.
Yeah. No, it was a lot of fun. It was really cool. So that was a win. So I'm just getting the win out of the way. That was a lot of fun to do a wedding. I haven't done one in quite a while.
Let's get the win out of the way.
Let's get the
Stop
win.
right there. It's time for Monty'man's Weekly Wine.
The baby.
Time to lay a burden down.
That's right. The baby. So the weekly wine. All right. You know what? I'm about ready.
Are you?
I am about ready to
Really?
reach over into people's cars and rip out their blinker. You know the bar on the left-hand side of their steering wheel that you hit when you want to use your
it's
blinker?
called a blinker.
Why do you need one? You don't use it. Ever. So I'm whining about that. So I'm at an
People
intersection.
Don't use it.
I'm
Some
in
people
an,
don't use it.
I'm in an intersection, and there is traffic coming like crazy, and finally there's a break. But it's not a big enough break for me to make a break because there's another car coming, and he decides to turn on my street. And if he had used his blinker, I could have gone out and driven away. But no. This happens all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Why do you... I'm going to rip your blinkers off your steering wheel. There's no reason for you to have them. You don't use them. I use mine.
You need to turn them on, left or right.
Right.
Left or
Or
right.
if you don't use one, use your hand. Even though I failed that in driver's ed.
Did you?
Yeah.
I mean, shoot. I do that too. Well, now we have these god-awful cars that if you leave them on, they make...
Did they really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they let you
I
know
don't
that
want
your
those.
blinker's still on.
Yeah, but
go ahead.
Monty, what about the times when it's really obvious you've got to turn
Right?
and they got their blinker on when you already know they're getting ready to turn?
You already know they're turning.
Those are the backwards
Yeah.
people.
Think about that.
Yeah, because you're being overly cautious
And
or
then-
maybe cautious so you don't go because you're not sure maybe they may not turn.
And I'll tell you something else, too. I've been in the turn lane.
Right?
I don't use my blinker, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking to myself, what do
It's
these people
obvious.
think? I'm going to turn.
It's obvious,
right?
huh?
And I look in my mirror as I turn, and it seems like they're cursing at me because I didn't turn on my blinker.
Well, that would be me. I'm not cursing. I'm just saying I'm going to rip out your blinker.
Oh.
The guys that turn their blinker on the wrong way.
Speaking of the mic there, we
When
got
they're turning their blinker on and they're going to turn one way, but they
Yeah.
turn the other.
They turn the other way.
I turned on my blinker to go in my driveway.
I didn't know we could
I did
get
too.
so much out of a blinker.
I am telling well, sometimes when I'm just going around a sharp curve, I turn my blinker on. I don't know why I do that. It's out of habit. Like a sharp turn is coming, I put my blinker on. Well, where else am I going to go? I guess I could go off the road, but I don't know. So I'm very blinker.
But you better believe the people who don't
Blinkery.
use their blinker, when the policeman's in back of them, they quickly use it.
That's right. You're darn right they do. Absolutely. All right, so there's the wine.
That was weird.
That was weird. All right, so no trivia today. Instead, we're going to go
Dun,
ahead
dun,
and
dun.
finish up the top 19
Yay!
complaints people give on their summer vacation.
And what number are we?
We are
at?
number 10, so this is the
All
top
right.
10. All
All
right.
right.
Okay, this is almost
Are you
as
ready
good
for
as
this?
trivia.
This is gonna be good.
All right, number 10. I think it should be explained in the brochure that the local convenience store does not sell proper biscuits like custard creams or ginger nuts.
Custard cream.
What?
Excuse me?
Custard
The-
creams.
Local convenience store.
Yeah.
right?
So, and by the way, this comes from they're a very highfalutin vacation organization called Thomas Cook Vacations, from dissatisfied customers. So these are people that have written Thomas Cook Vacations and the top 19 that they
Poor
received.
Thomas.
And somebody wrote they should explain in their brochure that the local convenience
Local
store
convenience
doesn't
store
sell
didn't sell
What?
the
What's,
proper
Oh
biscuits.
my goodness!
what's a ginger nut?
Yeah.
It's a
Thank you,
red-headed
Marv.
crazy person.
Thank you, Marv. Oh my goodness!
It's a red-headed crazy person. All right, that's number 10.
That's hard to believe.
First thought about that.
Number 9. Although the brochure said that there was a fully equipped kitchen, there was no egg slicer in the drawer.
99 cents at the dollar store, okay, people?
I never even heard of an egg
That's
slicer.
I
devastating.
love my egg slicer.
Wow.
Isn't that devastating?
Yeah, that's devastating.
Were they the little thing that has a little?
Yeah,
It looks like a little cup, and then they're wires.
Yeah.
It's wires.
The wires. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Number 8. No one told us there would be fish in the water.
Oh,
The children were scared.
Wait.
fish in the water.
Go
Fish in
figure.
the water.
That's like birds in the sky. Nobody told them that either.
Right. Speaking of birds in the sky, when we were in Maui, there are thousands of birds everywhere, and not once did I see any bird poop. Which the conclusion came to me that Maui has a problem with constipated birds. There's no bird poop anywhere.
Did they tell you down in the brochure? Or did they?
No, I just noticed that. I was looking for the poop. That's what I do when I go on vacation. I look for bird poop. Here's number 7. It's lazy of the local shopkeepers in Puerto Vallarta. They close in the afternoons. I often needed to buy things during siesta time. This should be banned. Okay.
Woman, take a nap.
Number 6. We found the sand was not like the sand in the brochure. Your brochure shows the sand is white, but it was more yellow.
It was off color.
Now, do people
horrible?
they have these comment cards in these hotel rooms and stuff, and I'm wondering are you that bored? I mean, right? Number 5, the beach was too sandy. We had to clean everything when we returned to our room.
Chemtrails.
Woo! Number 4.
It was too sandy. Oh my!
Go figure.
There was too much air in the sky. I mean, Number 4, we booked an excursion to a water park, but no one told us we had to bring our own swimsuits and towels. We assumed they would be included in the price.
Oh my God.
Really?
That'd be very unsanitary.
How much did you pay?
And now, I can almost see somebody thinking that towels might be provided because
Yeah.
I remember, at least in the old days, you'd go to the local swimming hole or the swimming pool, and you would pay a quarter or 50 cents. They give you a basket for your clothes, and they give you a towel. So I can almost see that. But swimsuits? All right.
Unsanitary.
Number 3, we went on holiday to Spain.
Oh, another Spain one.
Another Spain one, yeah. We went on holiday to Spain, and we had a problem with the taxi drivers. They were all Spanish. Why?
Whew, howdy.
Oh, dear.
I'm
Those
telling
must
you.
be the same tourists. as the
Oh,
last
my
one.
gosh. And here's number 2. On my holiday to India, I was disgusted to find that almost every restaurant served curry. I don't like curry. I don't like spicy food. Okay. All right, here's number 1. Drum roll.
This is number 1.
This is number 1.
All right, let's hang on.
Yeah, let's get the thunder roll here.
Everybody get ready. Here we go, number 1.
Number 1. They should not allow topless sunbathing on the beach. It was very distracting to my husband who just wanted to relax.
Well,
There's a double hit.
What do you think, Marv?
literally.
It almost makes me not want to go on vacation.
Doesn't it?
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, Lord.
Well, there you go. The top 19. If you want to know what the other ones were, go back and go to our Podomatic page or our YouTube channel and listen to the previous shows. All right, we're going to be back right after this. Don't go away. Hey, did you know that September is officially National Recovery Month? That's right. So I want you to join us on September 7th at Marion Square Park in Salem, Oregon from 2 to 7 p.m. Why? Well, it's Hands Across the Bridge. The theme, building bridges, and the admission is free. Come join the celebration. We're going to have a DJ, we're going to have live music, food, games, and a whole lot more. This is the 12th annual Hands Across the Bridge, and during the main event, attendees will walk over the Marion Street Bridge to honor those in recovery and to remember those lost to addictions and mental health challenges in the past year. When? Hands Across the Bridge, Building Bridges, September 7th, Marion Square Park in Salem from 2 to 7 p.m. Remember, the admission is free, and there's going to be a whole lot of fun and a whole lot of building bridges. 2018 Hands Across the Bridge is organized by Marion Polk Peer Coalition and sponsored in part by Take 12 Recovery Radio. Dun, 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 dun. Welcome back to the show. You've tuned into the Take 12 Recovery Radio Show, the great reality. Marv's here, Toni here, is here, Denver is here, and in the peanut gallery we have Wes. Yes, we do. Acting like a peanut. By the way, Lifeline Connections alumni invites everyone in recovery to the 4th annual summer barbecue. Food, fun, raffles, games, face painting for Toni, the dunk tank for Denver, and a bouncy house for Marv. Ooh. All on July 28th from 3 to 6 p.m. at the Faith Center, 10702 Northeast 117th Court in Vancouver, Washington. And this is all part of Lifeline Connections alumni, celebrating recovery and providing a fun, safe social event for people in recovery. If you want more information about that, you can contact us here at take12radio@comcast.net. The 4th annual Summer BBQ with Lifeline Connections alumni. So don't miss out on that thing.
I'm going to have him paint my face like the baby.
That'd be great.
I know, the baby.
What's that look like?
I don't know.
What does that look like? I want to give a special thank you. So, we've been asking on the last couple of shows. We've been needing our bills have come due. We've been needing to be able to pay them. Oh, excuse me. And people have stepped up to the plate, and I want to make sure that we recognize them. I think it's Dennis. It's spelled Denns, unless there's a typo there. But Dennis M. Donated. Todd H. Of course, Patrick LeBeau stepped up to the plate, donated actually a good hefty amount. And Patrick, we so appreciate you so much. Yeah. You and your wonderful wife and all you do for Take 12 Recovery Radio. Roger McDermott, of course, who foots the bill to Hope Fest for us every year to Arizona. We appreciate you so very much. Jill P., Marco R., Donald from Brownsville, Cyril from Hong Kong. Remember we talked about Cyril?
Yeah.
Yeah, he donated a good amount.
Thank you.
Kurt and Debbie Palmer, Byron and Debbie Ropp, and the Sending Dove Ministries all stepped up to the plate, and we now have every penny that we need to pay our bills for this year.
I think they deserve a round of applause.
Yes. Yay!
Yes. Thank
Little
you,
thunder.
Folks. Yeah.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
It just blesses our heart so much that you folks would step up to the plate and do this for this. It really is a ministry. We are ministering to people's hearts with the solution and hope that is recovery from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. That otherwise, without the God who is God, without God in our lives, we just wouldn't be able to.
Thank you, folks.
To function.
Yes,
thank you so very much. All right, so the topic this week is the Take 12 Radio Ask It Basket. Now, an Ask It Basket, for those of you who may not know,
might be a basket.
is something that is not new. It is most commonly used in 12-step conventions, usually service conventions, like AA service conventions or NA service conventions, where they have representatives from regional or area or the World Service Office on panels. And during some point in their business meeting or their convention, a basket will go around to the audience. And sometimes these audiences are, into the thousands at some of these conventions. So there's a lot of questions that are asked. And people put little 3x5 cards or slips of paper in the basket asking questions. And then the panel, makes a good stab at answering those questions. And a lot of times they're surrounded around service work, the politics, if I may say that word, the politics of AA or NA or Celebrate Recovery, whatever the group is, the ins and outs and the workings. So we decided to do our own Ask It Basket and be brave and say, go ahead, if you got a question about recovery, send it into our email address and ask it. And so this week, it's the Take 12 Radio Ask It Basket. And so we have some questions that were sent in. The first one I want to address is by Lee R. It says, "Hi, I find it difficult to build into a routine of meditation. Prayer is fine, and mine is good, but I slip on the meditation part." Well, he kind of answered his own question in the email. There's part of it I'm not reading, but I told him I would address it anyway. We talk a lot about prayer and meditation in just about every recovery circle that you can think of that has any kind of spiritual base to it at all, whether it's AA, NA, Celebrate Recovery, Alcoholics for Christ, whatever it is. Many treatment facilities, secular as well as faith-based, talk about prayer and meditation and how important it is in your recovery. And this is a question that comes up that a lot of people seem to understand the idea of prayer. It has been said that prayer is talking to God and meditation is listening to God. And that's nice. That's good. But I think sometimes what we tend to do is we tend to think of meditation as some mystical Eastern weird thing. And it really isn't. And so I'm going to send a copy to you, Lee, a copy of Basic Prayer and Simple Meditation by recovered alcoholic and man of faith, Mr. Mike D. And it is going to explain this. It's a very easy read. It's a very thin book. And it really does an amazing job. But let me kind of put it into a capsule form, the answer to this. Lee, do you know or do you ever worry? Do you know about stuff in your life that you worry about? If the answer to that is yes, you know how to meditate.
Amen.
Amen. It's very simple. It doesn't have to be something weird. Just time, being quiet, sitting on what I like to sit on my back porch out here, which I have affectionately named Shangri-La. There's a new sign out on
Shangri-La, the land of the gnomes.
Yes, the
Land of the gnome.
My little fountain goes, and I like to sit out there and with my dog and just sit.
Yeah.
And just sit. And I just, some of the things that people say, well, empty your mind. I don't know. My mind never gets empty. It's full of stuff. But I think on things. I try to think on things that are good and relaxing and positive, and just kind of reflect on that stuff. And sometimes when I'm not able to do that, just sit there. Just sit there.
I soak in my pool and just kind of sit there and let the world go.
Yeah,
Right? Mm-hmm.
yeah.
I really feel like reflection at that moment where you can sit and listen. All right?
Yeah.
Listen. There might be something. God may speak to you then at that moment.
You bet.
So, yeah.
Yeah, so it doesn't have to be a difficult thing. Now, carving out time to do that might be a little different. And so I think that speaks to just the necessity to, you're probably never going to find time, so you need to make time. That's just what you got to do.
Yes.
And slow down a little bit and just say, and you can do it anywhere. You can do it in the shower. You can do it on your porch. You can do it in your car if you're stuck in traffic. I mean, it doesn't have you don't have to have gongs and singing bowls and drums, and you don't have to have all that stuff. All that stuff's great, but if you don't have it, it's all right. You know, Marv,
Take a moment.
Yes, sir.
do you ever find it refreshing just to sit?
Well, you're talking to a guy who has a propensity to ponder.
Yeah, you got the PP.
Wonderful.
Well,
And I sit underneath a shade tree, and I do just that.
Isn't that
But
wonderful?
I would like to add something, and we've talked about this before. And if my memory serves me right, this comes from the guy who wrote that book that you're talking about.
Uh-huh.
And people meditate all the time.
Yes.
They just don't realize they're
They don't
doing
realize
that.
they're
And what
doing
he talks about, which was profound to me, is the fact that if you have resentments, you are meditating. Because
Oh,
they
that's
go
right.
Around
Oh,
and
yeah, that's
around
right.
and around. Your jaw gets tighter and tighter.
Exactly.
And your eyes start to squint. And that's meditation, man.
You're making me mad right now.
Yeah, see? So, you know, Monty, you're absolutely right. It's not some big hullabaloo thing.
Right.
You know, we do it all the time. We just don't realize it.
Yeah.
So we just need to turn it around and think about, like you said, good things.
Yeah. You bet.
God. Think
Denver,
about
swing your mic
Scripture.
over to Wes for a minute. I'm going to ask him a question. Wes,
Yes.
get right up on the mic there, buddy.
Get it.
What can I do for you?
Well, did you ever consider meditation before? Or was it something that was kind of elusive and Eastern and weird? And
Exactly. All weird.
that's kind of how you looked at it?
Sure.
How do you look at it these
Except
days?
for when I was in my marijuana use. Yeah.
Right. Oh, then meditation came easy.
Real easy.
Medication.
That's medication. Prayer and medication. Yeah. So do you find is it easier for you to just kind of sit and relax and just think of nothing and than it used to be, or is it still kind of difficult?
Yeah, and for myself, I don't use the word meditation. It's a restful time for me. And I try to be nice.
Mm-hmm.
Don't run with the weird things in my head and stuff.
Right.
And if I start to drift that way, I try to picture maybe what God looks like or Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
And it brings me back to where I need to be.
There you
But
go.
I can sit. If I find the time, or like I do now,
Yeah.
once I found it, I know that time's there, so I can use it over
Cool.
and over and over.
Yeah. Yeah. So what you're talking about is being very mindful of who God is in your life and that kind of thing. And in fact, in a lot of your meditative philosophies and so forth, they call that mindfulness. So you're being very mindful. You're being very intentional about what you're thinking about and focusing on. Yeah, good. Good deal. All right, so there's that, Lee. We're going to send you that book. And what you need to do, though, Lee, is you need to email me with your mailing address. Otherwise, it'll just go out into meditation land somewhere. So, Lee R., send me your mailing address to Take 12 Radio. That's TAKE, the number 12, radio at Comcast.net. Or you can just message me on Facebook. That would be fine. And we'll get that out to you. All right. Who wants to read the next question? So it's at the top of the page.
Oh, my goodness.
Somebody want to take a stab at it?
You make me read today? Oh, I'm going to drop down
Okay.
to
Pick
the
one.
third one. Dear Monty, Denver, Toni, and Marv, what do you think about people who come to meetings to get their court slips signed? You know what? I guess if you got to do that, you got to do it. But somewhere, the Lord is going to, maybe, I hope, touch you, and you'll find a little bit of power. Somewhere, somebody's going to speak into your life.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they've spoken to mine, and I hated some of these people. they I got to be honest. I hated them. They spoke things that I didn't want to hear, but nonetheless, they did speak into my life.
Sure.
And it has helped me in my recovery.
Right.
So, if you need to come get your court slip signed, I'm sorry I'm speaking because I got bad teeth right now. But
right.
Nonetheless, I'm telling you, if you need to come get your court slip signed, that's fine. But I'm pretty sure God is going to talk to you somewhere in here. I hope.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you listen.
Yeah. That's a good word.
If you listen, He'll talk to you.
Tony, what do you think about that? People that come and get their court slip signed and they take off early, maybe at the break or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's obvious they're just coming to get the court slip signed.
Oh, yeah. I never let it really bother me too much. I mean, even when I chaired meetings and I signed the slips and they left, I was just like, well, it's on them.
It's on them.
Me.
Yeah.
You know, and I was actually one who had to get court slips signed.
Did
for
you?
like at least 2 years. But I never left really because
because you needed that signature.
I thought about it.
Yeah.
But I stayed, and eventually, like Denver said, I heard something.
Right.
It wasn't until a year into meetings, but I did hear something.
We hear something.
Yeah.
Marv, what say you?
I do have a little bit to say about this.
Oh, righty.
Excellent.
And
The silent cowboy.
Some wisdom.
Some come at it
Thank
from
you.
a little different angle, maybe.
Please.
So, as just as sure as we have physical laws, we have spiritual laws. Right?
Amen.
Okay? So, one of the spiritual laws that's spelled out is God wants us to submit to authority.
Mm-hmm.
So, an authority has said, you will go to AA meetings.
You will go, yes.
Okay? What the person who that happened to doesn't realize is that right there, God has given him a gift.
Nice.
Amen. Amen.
Nice.
And they go in, and if they're like I am, they rebelled, and they cuss, and they moan, and they kick the chairs, and they're mean to people, and all this stuff. But yet, even so, God is still, his plan is moving forward. And they go to meetings. And like Denver said, while they're there, whether they like it or not,
right,
God's working in their life. Something's going to happen.
Yeah.
And the part about them leaving early, we all know we're powerless over people, places, and things.
Yeah.
You know, they're there, they get their court slip signed, they leave early, oh well.
Oh, well.
But I really think, you know, God's hand is in it. So.
Right.
Yep.
I agree. That's Pat from Salem. He says, I, for one, don't sign court slips when I chair a meeting. So on the technical level, I suppose the organization of Alcoholics Anonymous or Narcotics Anonymous or any other 12-step fellowship, if they're following
mandated,
well, if they're following traditions that are in the 12 traditions, people need to understand that every individual group is autonomous, except in matters affecting the other groups or that organization as a whole. Now, what does that mean? That means that there are things that you can do in your individual meetings that's really up to your meeting. And nobody's going to stand over you and say, you know, your walls have to be painted this color, or you have to have this color of drapes, or you have to start the meeting at this time and end at this time. I mean, it's up to each individual group. They're autonomous, except in matters that affect the entire organization as a whole. And so if your group has made the decision not to sign court slips, if that's the group conscience, that's the group conscience, and it's okay. You trust the process. If the group conscience is that we do sign court slips, then you sign court slips. it's really not supposed to be up to the individual whether they do or they don't. It's supposed to be the group conscience. So if you're chairing a meeting and your group conscience is that you do sign court slips and then you refuse to, that's a traditions violation. You're supposed to do that. And I agree with all you guys.
Can I bring up a thought from the flip side, though?
Sure.
Now that thinking back, like when I was doing that and I wasn't really listening to the meetings, my thought was, I have a nudge from the judge. That's my main priority right now. So I wasn't really ready to listen.
Sure.
So that's, and I'm not defending them whatsoever.
No, well, and the truth be known, kind of like Denver was talking about, whether you're ready to listen or not, you are hearing.
Something, yeah.
You may not be actively listening, but you are hearing, and seeds get planted.
Amen.
Yeah.
And so I
was just kind of throwing it out.
If somebody comes up to me and says, "Will you sign my court slip? I got to leave early," I don't have an issue with it. I'm not their Holy Spirit.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not their sponsor. I'm not. You know what I mean? I mean, I'm just glad they're there for the first 5 minutes.
Yeah.
If nothing else,
Yeah.
I'm grateful that they're there, and it's kind of on them if they're if they're fudging the system, it's going to come back to them.
It'll catch up with you.
Yeah,
I was just bringing up the thought process.
Yeah, no, I totally understand. So shoot, I mean, if everybody that was ever court ordered to a meeting was not in the meetings anymore, there wouldn't be any meetings.
Right? I know.
Yeah, there wouldn't be no meetings.
I mean, really. Who wants to take on the next question? Or pick one.
I will.
Okay.
Let's see. Oh, let's go with Monty'man. How can you do a radio show when our 11th tradition clearly states our public relations policy is based on attraction rather than promotion? We need always maintain personal anonymity on the level of press, radio, and films. And that's from Jennifer from Portland, Oregon.
From Portland. Thank you, Jennifer. That's a really good question. And it is a question that comes up at least a couple times a year, either in an email or a frustrated listener on social media. How can you do this recovery thing on radio, when our tradition says that our public relations policy is based on attraction rather than promotion? We need to always maintain personal anonymity at the level of press, radio, and films. Okay, so here's the answer to that. And Marv kind of jokingly said, "What are you doing listening to the show then?" I mean,
howdy, huh?
Yeah. But here's the thing. That tradition is very true. And let me explain what that means. That means that if you are representing Alcoholics Anonymous, or Narcotics Anonymous, or any 12-step fellowship that follows and adheres to the 12 traditions as borrowed by permission from Alcoholics Anonymous, this tradition says that you do not use, I mean, if you go deeper into it and you read more about it, that you do not use your full name and you do not use photographs with frontal facial pictures as members of AA or NA. And here's my answer to that here. We don't claim to be associated. Take 12 Recovery Radio is not associated with Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, or any particular 12-step fellowship. So it does not apply to us. We are not associated with them. Now, if individuals in this room attend those meetings, that's a personal thing. But we have never said, I've never heard, and I've never said it, I am a member of fill in the blank, and I'm representing that organization. Now, I give my opinions. I've said that I've attended a meeting, but I've never claimed membership or representation of any of those groups. It's interesting to me that people in these fellowships often think that this tradition applies to every aspect of your life, and it does not. If you read this, it says, our public relations policy, not your personal stories, our public relations policy. Take 12 Recovery Radio has nothing to do with AA's public relations policy. We don't claim any affiliation with AA. So there's my answer to that. Anybody want to comment on that? Marv, how about you? Got any comments?
No, I'm with you.
And we say it in the disclaimer right in the beginning of the show to make it very, very clear.
And when you have guests on, you make them sign a disclaimer saying it was okay to use their first name and last initial.
Well, yeah, I asked him, use your first name. If you're going to claim membership,
Yeah.
we prefer that you use your first name and last initial.
Yeah.
Or if you want to use your full name, simply don't be specific about the fellowship that you're a member of. Now, we don't have to ask that. We're not AA or NA. But out of respect for those fellowships, we ask that.
I remember that from when I was on a long time ago.
Right. Denver, you have an interesting look on your face.
My whole walk is I'm not ashamed of where I've come from.
Right.
So my name is Denver Wolf, and I've been an alcoholic.
Have you?
You know? It's just part of my walk in life.
Right.
You know what? Jesus stepped in, and things have got better.
Right.
So I'm not ashamed of who I am.
Right. And you know, when it says always maintain personal anonymity at the level of Press Premium Films, that is in relation to the public relations policy and your connection with that 12-step fellowship. Has nothing to do with your personal story.
No,
At all.
My personal story is me. And
That's right.
Guess what? Denver Wolf is Denver Wolf, and this is the walk I've walked.
Right.
And it has been difficult, shall we say.
Yeah.
And here we are.
And here we are.
And here we are.
Good answers. Let's see here. Marv, you want to do a question?
Field a question?
Come on, Marv.
Come on, Silent
You
Cowboy.
got two more here.
Lonnie, I don't have my glasses.
Oh, you don't have your glasses on. All right.
I'll read for Marv.
Okay.
Which one do you want?
Go ahead. Yeah, it doesn't
Do
matter.
you-
They're all going to be
Do you want to read it?
High take 12.
Oh, you can't.
You can't read it.
Try
Okay.
it. High take 12.
Okay. Hi, Take 12 Radio. I live in an... Oh, that's a good one for Marv. I live in an open carry state and have been told that I cannot come into my AA meeting with my sidearm. I thought that the only requirement for membership was
I like
a desire to stop drinking. What do you say?
That was Ron from Arizona.
Yes, Ron from
Thank you,
Arizona.
Ron.
So Ron comes from so what open carry means is that if you have a registered sidearm and you're permitted to carry it, if you're in an open carry state, you can have it on your belt or you can have it in visible view.
You need to have it right there.
It's legal for you to do that. And so it's interesting because I looked at actually 40 of our 50 states are open carry states.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, I didn't even realize
a lot of folks don't know that.
Right.
That you can open carry.
Yeah.
You just can't conceal it.
Right, unless you have a concealed permit.
Correct.
And so this is an interesting question because I've actually seen this happen. I was at a meeting here in town years ago when a person was asked to leave the meeting, put their pistol in their vehicle, and then they could come back to the meeting. The question here is, I thought that the only requirement for membership was the desire to stop drinking. All right, so we have to make something very clear here. There is a difference between membership and meeting attendance. Okay? If you're talking about the only requirement for membership, you're right. You could be walking on your hands, shooting up meth and carrying 2 sidearms and shooting them in the air and claim to be a member of NA or AA, as long as you have the desire not to do that, no matter how many times you fall into that. According to the tradition, if you have a desire to not use, you can call yourself a member. Now, can you come into a meeting and do that? No, because there are requirements for meeting attendance. You're probably not going to be welcome in a meeting if you come in naked shooting off a gun. That doesn't mean you can't call yourself a member.
I can't wait to see that one.
Leave the baby at home.
Yeah, it doesn't mean you can't call yourself a member. It just means that there is appropriate things that are permitted in meetings and ones that aren't. And you may be asked to leave for the day and come back tomorrow. That does not affect your membership. Again, it goes back to the group's autonomy. If the group has made a conscious decision, I mean, if the group conscience is that we would prefer that firearms not be brought into the meeting, that's their group conscience, and that's their right to do that. It doesn't affect AA as a whole or NA as a whole. It's the group conscience. Now, by the letter of the law, if that is not the group conscience and some well-meaning person asks you to take your firearm and put it in the car and come back without it, but that's not the group conscience, you have every right to say thank you, but no thank you. Mm-hmm. You're not breaking the law. You're not breaking any traditions. None of that. But if the group conscience has made that a group decision, you need to respect that group decision. Personally, I don't have a problem with it. I was told that I could not bring my Bible into the meeting. I had a little Gideon Bible that I kept in my front pocket. Did it for years. I carried it everywhere with me. I didn't have an agenda to bring it to the AA meeting or the NA meeting and start reading from the Bible. Somebody accused me of that one time, and I wasn't reading from the Bible. I was reading from the big book. Happened to be a quote from the Bible in the big book. And they thought I was reading from the Bible because they didn't know their big book. But did I have a right to carry that? According to that group's conscience, no, I did not. Because that group's conscience said, we do not allow anything that is not AA-approved literature in this room. That was the group's right. They voted that, and that was their right. I was not aware of that. So even though I didn't like it, if I was going to respect the group's conscience, then integrity would say, okay, leave your pocket Bible in the car. Right?
Yeah.
Now, if that had not been the group conscience and it was just somebody's opinion, I don't have to do that. So it's the same thing with the firearm thing. You know, a lot of these things, it's a matter of wisdom. Right, Marv? You just got to use wisdom.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do.
That's cowboy wisdom right there, 101.
Well, you know what? Discretion.
Yeah.
Whatever happened to discretion?
Amen.
Yeah.
You know?
Amen.
And Monty and you guys all sitting here all know you've been to meetings where it got really out of hand.
Yeah.
And if there were firearms in there, it would get really...
It could have been bad.
Yeah. So discretion is the word for the day. Now, if I'm in Afghanistan in a war zone
Right.
and we're having a AA meeting, you can just about bet everybody's
got a weapon.
Got
camp's
got
gonna
an
have
Got the
weapons.
big
AK.
rifles. There's no concealing those.
True. True enough.
Wisdom.
And here's the last one. Dear radio friends, I'd like to submit a question for the show on Monday. I have been listening to your shows for about 6 years and am fully aware that you are a Christian broadcast. But would you ever sponsor someone in AA that is not a Christian? And if you would, wouldn't there be a conflict with the spiritual issues? Thank you. This comes from Sam from Rutland, Massachusetts.
Massachusetts.
No conflict to me.
No conflict to you?
None.
What about you, Tony?
No, because not everybody who comes in the beginning is a Christian. I know I wasn't.
Right.
Let me kind of look at the question. I don't think it's a conflict of spiritual issues because it does say in the book that at one point, if we work our steps, we do have a spiritual awakening.
Right.
And, you know, depending on how you do your steps and, you know, work with that person, and if they stick with it, then, you know, they're either going to have a spiritual awakening of some sort in a God that they believe in,
Right.
or not. But it's more to help the person, not their I don't know. I don't want to say not their.
So you don't have a
spiritual
problem with somebody asked you, they said, I'm an atheist or I'm agnostic
Yeah.
or I worship the gnome over in the corner.
side. You know what I'm
But
trying
would
to
you
say,
be my
though?
sponsor? You would have no problem sponsoring
Yeah,
them.
no.
But you, Denver, what do you think?
I don't have a problem with nobody that comes in. If you need to get sober, you will at some point realize that you need a higher power, and you're awakening to that point. I don't know where that comes.
Sure.
But at some point, and probably you're going to say it's a higher power. You know? There's going to be God come into your life somewhere here.
If you're following the directions,
Yeah.
If you're just...
you're going to come to a crossroads of some kind.
You're going
aren't
to come
you?
to the crossroads.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful term right there. You will come to a crossroads in your life where you realize there is a higher power, and it's not me.
Swing the mic on over. I want to hear Wes. I want to hear Wes chime in on this.
It's Wes.
Wes, yeah. What do you think about all this?
What do you think about all this?
Honestly, I wouldn't have a problem with it.
Okay.
Because I know they're going to get touched.
Right.
And at some point.
Right.
I mean, I remember going to my first AA meetings, and I was told it doesn't matter what it is as long as it's
Not you.
as long as you're powerless over it.
Right.
You know? And at that stage, I think I used a doorknob or something, just being an idiot. And I realized after a point that there really is something else out there.
Right.
So I was touched. But, yeah, it wouldn't make any difference to me. Being a sponsor, I'd just try to help.
Sure. So I will cop to an old way of thinking that I used to subscribe to, and I'll tell you why I don't anymore. There was a time in my particular 12-step fellowship, which will remain unnamed. We already covered that one. Where I was not willing to sponsor somebody that was determined not to be open-minded enough to at least consider Christ. It didn't bother me that they weren't a Christian, but if they were so closed off to it that they were not going to even consider it, I had a problem with that because I figured when we get to a certain place, we're going to be going in different directions. And so I thought, well, I'll just nip this in the bud, and I'm not going to sponsor that person. I have, over the years, changed my thinking on that.
Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
And Bruce, our co-host from, many years, well, he wasn't for many years, but he's been gone now for a little over a year. He's the one that really helped me change my thinking on that. And he's a very strong Christian man. And so that was a question I'd asked of him because I'd heard that question asked before, even before this person, Sam from Rutland, Massachusetts, wrote in. And he said, oh, absolutely, I would sponsor somebody that was determined not to ever believe in Jesus. I said, what? And he said something, and it totally changed my thinking. He said, I would ask them, first of all, are you willing to consider that you're not the creator, you're not God, you're not a power greater than yourself? Would you be willing to consider that? And he said, if they say yes, he goes, I can work with them. And then when they chose a higher power of their understanding, I would expect them to learn everything they can about that power and follow that power's directions, because that would be literally practicing step 3. I turn my will and my life over to the care of God as I understood him, right? So that means you're going to follow those directions. And he said, I would expect them to do that. So if their higher power was an Eastern philosophy, if it was Kundalini, if it was Buddhism, whatever it was, I would expect that person that I'm sponsoring to study that and go further than what AA or NA or whatever group it is telling you, because it talks about you have to go further and then to adhere to that. And I said, has that ever happened? He goes, yes. I said, what happened? He goes, they came to me later and they said, I'm finding that lacking. And then they were open to the idea
Amazing.
of Christ. Why? Because he did not turn them away. He did not condemn them for their beliefs. He just said, if you're going to practice that, I expect you to practice that. And so when they started to investigate, and they found it lacking. And I actually sponsored a guy who claimed to be Buddhist. Now, he claimed to be Buddhist, but he really didn't know anything about Buddhism. He just kind of jumped on the Buddhist bandwagon because he thought it was cool, right?
Yoga.
So, and now this, I'm going to get flack from my Christian brothers and sisters. I actually bought him a pamphlet on Buddhism.
Did you really?
Yeah. And I gave it to him, and I said, now that we're at step 3, where you're turning your will and your life over to what you're claiming is your higher power, I expect you to develop a relationship with that higher power, and here is a pamphlet on Buddhism. He came back to me a couple weeks later and said, this doesn't make any sense.
This don't make no sense.
Can you tell me more about Jesus?
Oh.
Now, if I had turned him away and said, nope,
Yeah.
then what would he have been left with?
Yeah. Wonderful.
That's just, yeah. So, absolutely. Would I sponsor somebody who doesn't believe the way I do? You bet I would. And I'll take them through the whole 12 steps. And if they don't become a Christian, that's okay. I'll still sponsor them. We are not to make converts. That's God's job. We're just supposed to lay this set of spiritual tools at their feet and then let God do his work. And then we're there to be supportive and to take them further if that's what they decide to do. And that's what the program teaches. Now, if I'm in a Christian setting and it's a Christ-centered group, like one of the organizations that I do belong to, that I will not mention again, and somebody comes to me, I'm probably going to be more adamant about who God is because that's what that organization proclaims.
Yeah.
But if it's a secular meeting, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do it. Now, I'll share my story in a general way, and I'm not ashamed to say who my God. In fact, the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous said we never apologize for God. We never do. So I hope that, Sam, I hope that answers your question from Rutland, Massachusetts. So there you go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 really good questions.
Boom.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah.
It was a good one.
Any thoughts there, Marv? Any closing thoughts before we sign off today?
No, the only thing I can say is we ought to do this again.
We ought to.
Man.
Yeah, I like this idea.
So if you've got questions that are around recovery issues, and it doesn't have to be AA, NA, Celebrate Recovery, Alcoholics for Christ, Teen Challenge, Lifeline Connections, it can be whatever you think are recovery issues. Sometimes we don't know. If you got a question, send in your email, take12radio@comcast.net.
Yeah.
Right? Wes, thanks for being in here today. Say bye, Wes.
Bye, Wes.
I miss Cecil. Where?
I was about
What's
to ask
Cecil?
about Cecil.
All right.
Cecil's
I guess.
in thunderstorm right now, or form right now.
Yeah, Cecil's resting with the gnomes.
Oh, he's out back.
Really?
We need to go find Cecil.
We're not sure if
We gotta
Cecil's
go-
a he or a
Hey.
she, so I don't know what you call
Wait,
it.
It's out back.
wait a minute.
Is it an it?
It's an it.
It's green.
It's green.
I'm pretty sure it's it late at night.
That's when he comes into the studio.
Oh, Lord have mercy. All right. Our closing song is by Justin Unger. We saw Justin Unger last year at Hope Fest. He was the main artist.
Well, you know what? We did.
Yes, we did.
Yes.
And this song is called He Delivered Me. Check it out, Mr. Justin Unger. You can visit his website at justinunger.com.
As I wandered through the desert, lost beyond all measure, I had gone astray. Thirsty, longing for the river flowing from your mountain. It seems so far away. And so I cried out from my soul. I reached out to the Holy Father, who is faithful to reply. And he delivered me from my death in the desert, and he led me to his grace. And he delivered me from the storm and the wreckage, and he carried me away. Always you are strong to save me, faithful though I'm failing, following your ways. Your love is patient and unchanging, selfless and enduring. With you I choose to stay. And so I cry out from my soul. I reach out to my Holy Father, who is faithful to reply. And he delivered me from my death in the desert, and he led me to his grace. And he delivered me from the storm and the wreckage, and he carried me away. And so my soul cries out with a grateful heart. He gave it all for me, for all eternity. Yes, my soul cries out with a grateful heart. He gave it all for me, for all eternity. And he delivered me from my sin and my sorrow, and he washed it all away. And he delivered me from the guilt in the darkness, for his faithfulness is great. And he delivered me from my death in the desert, and he led me to his grace. Yeah, he delivered me from the storm and the wreckage, and he carried me away. He carried me away. He delivered me. Oh.
Mr. Justin Unger, he delivered me. Visit Justin's website at www.justinunger.com for more great spiritual music from this great recovery recording artist. Hey, listen, anytime you have a question that is about recovery, please don't hesitate to email us and ask it. And we'll stick it in the Take 12 Radio Ask It basket and do our best to answer your questions. Simply email us at Take12Radio, that's T-A-K-E, the number 12, radio at Comcast.net with your questions. Until our next broadcast, this is the Monty'man along with the Take 12 Recovery Radio family, and we are wishing God's perfect serenity for you. Bye-bye now.
Good guys, bad boys, we're all the same. Saved by grace is the name of the game. Turn around, hit the ground, time to lay a burden down.
This has been a broadcast of KHLT Recovery Broadcasting.
Cause she's a super cat, she's super kitty, meow.
Yeah, kitty, 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 meow.